Just bring us, Ronan, if you can, up to date with what you've probably heard that side, because we're understanding, is this right, that the conservatorship, she will be able to choose her own lawyer for the conservatorship now, attorneys, you'd say. What have we heard?
That's right, Emily, and that's coming out of the courtroom just now. That hearing is still ongoing in Los Angeles. There's been a massive crowd around the courthouse, politicians latching onto this moment and speaking, actually a bipartisan push, both sides of the political spectrum getting behind the idea that something objectionable has happened in the denial of this woman's rights. And one of the things we documented in this recent investigation we published, a co-author of mine, Gia Tolentino, and myself, was that for years, Britney Spears had made concerted efforts to hire her own attorney of her choosing, up to and including elaborate schemes where she met up with contacts in a hotel steam room in one case and was delivered in a Ziploc bag, a contraband cell phone. She has been trying to get in touch with lawyers for a long time. It appears now she will finally get one of her choosing, Matthew Rosengart, a former prosecutor.
And we also heard from the Press Association that Britney wants her father charged with conservatorship abuse.
This is something that she has now said repeatedly. We heard her say it directly in the one moment of courtroom audio that we have of late, where several weeks ago, as you mentioned, she did speak to the court calling into a hearing. Since then, they've sealed up these proceedings, so we don't have audio from today, but we have seen reports from today saying that she reiterated that request. What she said last time we were able to listen in live several weeks ago was that everyone associated with enacting this conservatorship and managing it should go to jail.
So your take on this then, would you expect the conservatorship to end after all this public attention?
Well, I think it's quite telling that we put out this body of reporting about all the years over which Britney Spears has tried to get out of this situation and the motives behind this, which are complex, a family with good intentions, but also riven by disputes over her fortune and financial dependency on her. I think it's telling that after that report, we saw resignations from her camp. We saw her court-appointed lawyer petition almost immediately to resign. We saw her longtime music manager resign. So there's chaos in that camp right now, and I think there's a realization that all of this scrutiny is not good and not sustainable. So I think inevitably we are going to see a degree of change. People were surprised in the States that there wasn't an immediate filing to end the conservatorship. That was complicated by the fact that did resign. But now that she has counsel of her choosing, we may well see that kind of a filing soon.
So just talk us through this, because it's sketchy. We don't really understand enough about the conservatorship to know all the details within it. I mean, if a conservatorship is for reasons of her own health, looking after her, it still managed to make huge amount of money out of her performances.
Well, this is the crux of why this is such an important legal issue, even beyond Britney Spears, Emily. You know, we have seen a wider discussion open up in the States about these legal structures, conservatorships or guardianships, which are typically applied to severely disabled people who are not high functioning in the way that Britney Spears is. She presents an edge case. As you point out, she was performing for years. She has made tens of millions of dollars for herself, ostensibly, and in practice, people around this conservatorship who get paid from the conservatorship. Sometimes, she has now said, against her wishes. Understandably, disability rights activists in this country are saying, that is a case of conservatorship abuse. So I think we're correctly seeing scrutiny applied, and we're going to see calls for scrutiny in other cases of this type.
And if she doesn't emerge from the conservatorship after all this with her own lawyer, using her own voice, what will be your takeaway?
Well, I think a lot is going to turn on the coming days and whether she is permitted to end the conservatorship without additional medical examinations. She said when we last heard from her in that courtroom testimony that she didn't want to be subjected to another evaluation. Her father, who has this controlling role in her life still, has petitioned for an evidentiary hearing that, you know, people inside the camp have told me he hopes will prove that she's lying in some sense. But I think that looks like an increasingly tenuous position. And, you know, we will have to see whether she subjects herself to that kind of an evaluation now that she can consult with this lawyer, or whether the judge approves an end to this thing without that kind of.
Ronan Farrow, it's great to speak to you this evening, even on this subject. Thank you very much indeed. For legal reasons, we have to clarify that Britney Spears' lawyer, Sam Ingram, has reportedly applied to resign from the case. He's not issued a public statement regarding Spears' evidence in court. We don't know whether he disputes her allegations that she didn't know she could petition to enter conservatorship, but he never told her. Britney Spears' father, Jamie, has said that when he was personal conservator over his daughter, he did everything in his power to support her well-being. In court filings, he said he has had no power over his daughter's personal affairs for nearly 2 years, and he now oversees only her money and her business dealings.